Hello and welcome to my channel. As you probably can tell by the opening, this is yet another book haul video because I've most certainly reached the point where I do book haul videos where my unhauled spot on my bookshelf is too full now, and I now need to do a book haul video so that I can start organizing and getting things moved around. Now, you may or may not have seen, to start this off, I did a quick unboxing video for this beautiful Red Queen's War trilogy. It's all 3 books by Mark Lawrence from Grim Oaks Press. I was super happy to get this one. This was an anniversary gift from my wife, and so I did the unboxing when I actually got this one, but just to call that out, if you want to see a closer look at that, you could find that video I uploaded Saturday, I believe. So that was the first really big thing that I wanted to look at there because that was pretty awesome. But then otherwise, the bulk of the books that I got are from Book Outlet, which is pretty normal for me, but I specifically, for a while I went to half-price books way too often and just kept buying a bunch of books, so I kind of stopped doing that. But then there were a few times where I ended up making Book Outlet orders because specifically I knew there was a certain book I wanted, and I just ended up doing it. So we'll kind of start there. But a lot of them are from there. Some I did get from Half Price Books because then I went to Half Price Books and got really lucky and they had a lot of stuff. So there's plenty more to get in. So let's get into it. So the first thing I'll call out is this actually. I ended up getting this trilogy by W. Michael Geer, and it's called the Donovan Trilogy. So we have Outpost, Abandoned, and Pariah. This whole trilogy, in fantastic hardcover condition, was available on Book Outlet, and it's a sci-fi trilogy. And so this is like basically Donovan is a planet that was supposed to be like kind of like a paradise planet, and it was colonized, but there was a lot of stuff going on, and so you have all of these different people trying to like make their mark or like make their way on Donovan with all kinds of different plots and things going on. So it sounded kind of interesting, and this specifically was recommended in on probably my last haul, or one of the last hauls, by a commenter, Kevin S., who noted that this was out there. And I've been wanting to make sure to read more sci-fi. I'm not gonna lie, usually when I go to Book Outlet, I look at the fantasy section first, because they do actually split out fantasy and sci-fi. A lot of places don't. Book Outlet does. So I always look there first, and then like if I need another book, I'll check the other sections. Usually I'm just trying to get that free shipping. But so this sounded interesting, and when I can get a whole trilogy for very cheap, nice looking hardcovers, that is a win. And then, I'm pretty sure it was the same commenter who noted that Book 2 of the Ringsworn Trilogy, Upon the Flight of the Queen by Howard Andrew Jones, was on Book Outlet as well, because I also had gotten the first book for The Killing of Kings. Once again, whenever I can get multiples in a series, that way in case I enjoy it, I have them and I'm ready to go. I always try to do that. Of course, if I don't end up liking a series and I have multiples, well, at that point though, I can unhaul them, and I'm sure somebody will be happy to get multiple books in a series there. So nothing, not too big of a deal there, but so we have that. We're gonna save. I'm gonna do a lot of the Book Outlet ones at once, so I'm just reorganizing here. These are all messed up. Okay, so next up we have a Canticle for Leibowitz. And this is supposed to be a pretty, like a classic story. This is by Walter M. Miller Jr. And I don't know a ton about this, but I'd heard some good things in the past. And it sounds like it's like a post-apocalyptic world where there's like secret groups who are trying to rediscover science and just stuff kind of going on in that way. And it sounded really interesting, so this is one I grabbed just whenever I'm shopping used books. The first thing I do is I look for like an author or a title that's familiar to me. And then otherwise I look at the cover. And so those are things that I do a lot with used book shopping. So if it's something I've heard about and was curious about, that's a really easy pickup for me. Next, we have joining the, I said in the last haul too, I should probably stop buying Guy Gabriel Kay books because I've yet to read any of them. But I keep finding them. Like, there's a lot of them I've gotten on Book Outlet, my half-price books. Has more. I didn't buy any more there. I think this one was from Book Outlet, but this is The Summer Tree by GGK. And this one's about college students who like get pulled into a war in a fantasy world. So sounds a little bit interesting. That's not my favorite type of setup, but I actually I've heard somebody who was reading this and said it was good, and I had jumped on it and grabbed it. So I'm hoping to get to some of these. This one is one that's not terribly long. And the weirdest thing about this is apparently like a weird Canadian size, because this shows as being specifically a Canadian version. So I don't really know what's going on with this size. It's oddly sized, but I just noticed the cover art is by Janie Wirtz and somebody else, so that's pretty cool. I didn't know she did cover art. Alright, next up, and one of these is from Book Outlet, the other is from Half Price Books, but I got a couple of Neil Gaiman collections. The first one is Trigger Warnings, which is like short fictions and just supposed to be some weird stuff. And the other one is The View from the Cheap Seats, which is actually a collection of nonfiction writings or essays or different things that he's done. Gaiman is just an author that I've enjoyed, so if I see his stuff, I tend to pick it up. I haven't loved everything I've read of his, but he's an author that I enjoy, so grabbed a couple of these to try out for some of the short story type things. Then, the next one I jumped on, Weave World by Clive Barker. So this is another, it's supposed to just be classic. I've heard a lot of good things about it. And so I imagine several people are pretty familiar with this, but this is a fantasy story, even though Clive Barker did mostly horror. But this is like, there's a land that's inhabited by the descendants of supernatural beings. And it's something about like being weaved like a carpet is where Weave World comes from. I'm not entirely sure. The description was kind of odd. But it sounds like it has like, you know, the classic dark forces trying to destroy the world and that sort of thing. But this is a longer one. I'm not quite sure when I'll get to it, but it seemed interesting. Like I said, this is mostly just because I've heard so much about this over time. I know a lot of people love this book, so this is one I definitely jumped on to get. So I actually forgot. I did have one other Neil Gaiman book that I got, and this actually prompted an order because I would have never paid full price for this, but I got the annotated American Gods on Book Outlet. And this retails for like $50, which I would have never paid. I think I got it for like 20 something, which was still kind of a lot for Book Outlet. But this is, you know, it's an overstocked book, but still pretty well new and pretty cool. And there was so much that was just really, really interesting in American Gods, what I read. So the kind of coffee table book here I thought was interesting. I'm not really sure why it's the size that it is, except maybe to make it more expensive, because for some reason, with like all of Neil Gaiman's stuff, the publisher makes it really expensive. But there are annotations, so like you can see, here's an example. This is the text of the story, and this is some of the annotations. But when you do it that way, the problem is you get pages that don't have any, and I say that, and now all of them have had some. Well, here's one that has like one. You got a lot of wasted space here. So I'm not really sure that made the most sense as a design option, but I thought this was pretty cool. I'll definitely read this when I reread American Gods, which is a book I know I was going to reread at some point because it's one I enjoyed. So there's the other Neil Gaiman that I forgot to mention. I think I switched between saying Gaiman and Gaiman. I don't know the correct pronunciation. I figure they're both close enough, but anyway. All right, next up from Book Outlet is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. So this one I remember was making the rounds on BookTube quite a while ago. I haven't really heard a lot about it since, but I know it was really, really popular at the time. And that's pretty much exactly why I picked this one up. This is one I had never gone out of my way to find, but usually if I've heard like a ton, like the books that are making the rounds, I stopped. I used to buy some of those, and then I had some that were really disappointing, and so this one I figured if I came across it, I would definitely pick it up, and I recognized it and did. I'm not really sure what this one's about, because the description basically said there's a tracker whose name is Tracker, and he's trying to find a mysterious boy, but there's more mystery around it. And so I'm not gonna lie, I would never, like, if I had not heard of this premise did not interest me at all, did not do anything to make me think I wanted to read this book. So this is 100% just because I know it was really popular, so I figured I would give it a shot and see what I think. I don't tend to have the most popular opinions when it comes to books like this that are just like that everyone loves. I tend to, there's been several of like the booktube darlings that I haven't liked so much, but figured I would give this one a shot, so that is why I grabbed that one. I got several, and they were all out of order, but there are a bunch of books here that I picked up just because they're sequels to books that I already have, mostly that I haven't read, because once again I said, that's probably not the best thing to do, but like if I read a book and I actually really like it, then like already having the sequel is great. So, The Stone in the Skull by Elizabeth Bear I got a while back, which I'm actually gonna try to, it's a shorter book, and I'm gonna try to buddy read it with somebody here soon, I think. But they have the second one, Red Stained Wings, which, granted, this is a super cool cover. I actually quite like this. And this is book 2, also not a super long book, and, you know, when you get it so cheap on Book Outlet, I figured it was worth it. So I picked it up for that reason. And then this one's even a little different. So they have had, and they probably still do, to be honest, but on Book Outlet for quite some time, The Bear and the Serpent and the Hyena and the Hawk. These are books 2 and 3 of Echoes of the Fall by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And I've heard so much about Adrian Tchaikovsky lately. I don't think specifically these books, but about some of his other books. And so he an author that I'd wanted to try. And I also really enjoy these covers. They're pretty plain, and so I don't know what it is, but I actually really like these covers. And I didn't get it because then, you know, buying book 2 and 3 of a series when you know book 1 doesn't make a ton of sense. But they're such a good deal for these books. They've had them for a while, and I just finally bit the bullet and got them. But this series sounds like it's like there's all these different clans that are animal-based, which I think is the reason for the names of these. The first one's the Tiger and the Wolf, I believe, and it's about like the Wolf clan, but the daughter of the clan chief of the Wolf clan was also, like, he was married to the like priestess of the Tiger clan or something, and she can shapeshift into both a tiger and a wolf, which is not normal, but so there's like some shape-shifting magic in here, and it sounded interesting. Author I wanted to try, so I finally just pulled the trigger and got him, so I'll have to get book 1 at some point, obviously, before I can start this, but I finally just decided to go ahead and get it. Next up, we have the Book of Dragons, and this is like a collection of short stories and or poems that are about dragons. And I grabbed this because there was a lot of names that I recognized on here, including Daniel Abraham, Ken Liu, KJ Parker, Ara Kwong, Kate Elliott, of course, Garth Nix, I think that's, Scott Lynch is on here too. Yeah, so there's plenty of names that like I've maybe come across or names I don't recognize either, but there were several authors in here that I thought it would be interesting to see what they did. So this is an area too. I don't read a lot of like collections like this. I have some, and I usually am bad about actually getting to them and reading them. But this seemed, like I said, interesting and had lots of different authors that I was familiar with. So I thought this would be a good thing too. Lately, I've been, I guess you could say, mood reading. I've just been reading some different stuff that's not really what I wanted or what I planned to read, just to get some shorter things in. So I'm trying to take more breaks, just get some more things done. So something like this where I can maybe just read a few stories here and there. I probably wouldn't sit and read this front to back, I imagine. Maybe I would. I don't know. But I figured that seemed pretty interesting. Continuing the sequels, I got A Blight... I can't read, apparently. A Blight of Black Wings by Kevin Hearn, and this is book 2 of his ongoing series right now. The first one was Plague of Giants, which was a random Dollar Tree pickup I got for $1, a nice hardcover copy. So I haven't read that yet, but I figured I would just grab this because it was quite cheap on Book Outlet. Then we have Age of War, which is book 3 of Legends of the First Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. Now, I already have Age of Swords, which is book 2, and I actually just realized that I think when I bought this, I thought it was the first book, because somebody was talking in Discord about how the third book was there, and I'm like, oh man, I just ordered and I got the first one, and it was actually the third one. So apparently I have books 2 and 3 of this series too in hardcover, and I need 1 and however many others there are, there are several. So, but I really enjoyed the Michael J. Sullivan story I read, Nolan, and I have several of his other books that are high on my list to read that I need to get to, but As you know, I say that a lot because I always have a million things I need to get to. But once again, when I can get a book series that I know I eventually am going to want to collect, if I come across them, I just grab them. And another sequel, we have The War Within by Stephen R. Donaldson. This is the sequel to the Seventh Deciment. I remembered that. That's great. The Seventh Deciment is actually another random one I picked up that might have been Dollar Tree, or it was like some other like miscellaneous store on like the bargain bin because it was an overstock copy. And this probably in the same boat. I haven't heard a ton about this. This is the Great Gods War series. I'm not sure how many books there's supposed to be. I haven't really heard many people talking about this series. I know the first book, the ratings weren't fantastic on Goodreads, but pick them up just because I will not get to these for quite a long time because I'm going to read Thomas Covenant and finish that before I read any other Donaldson. But he's got several other series that sounded interesting, including this one, and I really enjoyed the first Thomas Covenant trilogy, so that's why I picked that up to save for a very eventual time when I get it. So then, we're finishing up with Book Outlet books, and so first thing, I grabbed a few Dragonlance novels because with rereading the Dragonlance Chronicles recently, we were having a discussion on the live show for the second book of Dragonlance Chronicles, and it got me really interested in some of like the surrounding stories that I hadn't read. So I have the Preludes to Volume 1, Riverwind the Clansman, which is obviously about Riverwind, who's a main character, and then I have Legends Volume 1 and 2, which is War of the Twins and Time of the Twins. That was the wrong order. But I think this is going to be, it would have to be Raceland and Caramon. I actually realized I didn't even look, but I'm sure that's what it's about. But especially, I've heard the Raceland books are extremely hard to find, so I'm like, I'm just going to grab these because these are in pretty good condition too. So just some of the surrounding books. I know I have another Prelude, another Legend, a couple around, and so I'm like, I'm just going to grab these because I'm really interested to read some of those other stories. Then we have Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. Now this is one I've heard a lot about, and I know a lot of people really enjoy this, some not so much. This is the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty, I believe is what it's called. Is that right? I'm just going to say it is. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, Ken Liu, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read at some point. Anyway, this is supposed to be basically like about a land with a lot of civil unrest. There's like a revolution going on, a lot of intrigue. So kind of your classic fantasy city plot where there's stuff going on like that. And mostly, once again, this is really one I just picked up because I had heard quite a lot about and one I wanted to try out. So I came across this really nice copy in Half Price Books and had to grab it. And the last ones are technically sequels, but I already had the first two books of The Dagger and the Coin by Daniel Abraham, and I found books 3 through 5 at Half Price Books that are mostly, one of them's not great condition, but none of them are terrible. And so finding this, I now have this whole series, and I've gotten all of them. The first book in the series I got for $1 at Dollar Tree, and then the next 4 I've gotten at Half Price Books now. So that's pretty great. A nice, cheap way to get them. I was really excited to get those. I'm still going to read Long Price Quartet first, starting that in November, and then after that I'll start putting The Dagger and the Coin in there too, because I'm really, really excited to read Daniel Abraham. So we have that. And then, funnily enough, so I have... Let me grab it. I'd gotten previously the Legends of Dragon Realm, which I didn't realize is actually a collection of, like... So this says it's 3 novels, and apparently there's like some shorter things in there too. But I didn't realize that there were multiple books of these, and somebody told me that in one of my videos as well. And then I happened to come across Half Price Books, Volume 2 of this one. So once again, I'm a sucker for when I can get multiple books in a series used and very, very cheap. So I grabbed that as well. So that is my giant book haul here again too. So as always, let me know if you have read or want to read any of these books and what you think about them. If there's any that you think I should bump up or bump down as well too. So I'm always happy to hear people's opinions on the books that I have hauled. I generally plan on reading at some point everything I get. It takes a long time. Or as like, Andrew said, like I like to buy books a lot and sometimes I read them. But yeah, definitely still have a book buying problem, but this was a lot of good stuff, and just when I find books that I'm interested in at a good deal, it's just really hard to pass up. So that is the haul. Let me know your thoughts once again. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. Check the link in the description for the Wizardly Duo Discord, where among many other things you can find the Book Buyers Anonymous channel, where you can talk about your book buying problems as well and share with the group. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.